Yeah.
And I think there's something to be said here too about like not just changing like your platform, but also like changes in content. Like
Yeah.
we kind of skimmed over it a little bit, but it's been really like a big part of my stream where when I first started, I was playing like a lot of Battlefield 4 and then I like switched over to like a different game and then I switched to Overwatch. I was playing a lot of Overwatch and then I was doing creative. And like every time you move from one thing to another, you will lose people. Like there are some people that watch the stream just to watch Overwatch, or when I stopped playing Overwatch, they stopped coming around. And I definitely think that like when I switched from gaming focused to doing like 3 or 4 role playing shows a week, that was a really big change in audience as well. You gain people from this new content, but you also lose people who are like this isn't really my thing. And I think you just have to weigh like what you want as a person, like what you're interested in, and also like if I decide that I really love role playing, but then I cannot support myself financially, like there's a balance to be struck, right?
So one of the recommendations that shows up a lot is, and one that's easy, I think, for any of us to make is to ease people into it, audience and self.
Mhm.
If you're planning on mixing up your content, if you're doing a single game type of stream for like 3 months, and then you want to start moving into the other one, don't stop playing that game altogether. But
Right.
then, you're doing 8 hour streams, say, 5 days a week, like regular job kind of hours, cutting the last 2 hours out from that game and adding something else in that you want to mix and match. We see that being recommended a lot. Do you think that that's like always the thing that should be done, or is there value in, sometimes? And I don't necessarily mean just
I
with the
force my audience to like most things.
yeah.
I I used to like ease into things and be like, "Hey guys, we're gonna play a different game." And they're like, "Okay, we'll try this out." But then I'm just like, "Nope, never mind. We're full time this game from now on. That's
Yeah.
it. Nothing else."
Well, sometimes I think that there's some value there to like building up like an event to it, where it's like, hey, we're gonna be doing something fundamentally different on this day in the future, and it's gonna
Mhm.
be totally different when it happens, and you're gonna be so happy about it and whatever.
Well, doing like a one-off, I think, is like okay, like but like completely switching your entire stream, like from going from like let's say playing Overwatch to like RPGs, like overnight, like you are gonna take that a huge hit, and like
Guaranteed hit, yeah.
mentally, that's very very tough. Like you
Yeah.
can prepare for that, but it still is gonna hurt, right? Like
I think the thing is like, why are you making the change?
Yes.
That's a really big thing because if you change from playing, like if you were doing creative streams like art and stuff, and it was your passion, and then you changed to being a Fortnite streamer because you thought you would make a lot of money, but you don't really actually like Fortnite, you're gonna hate it. You're not
right,
gonna like it, and like it's gonna get to you a lot more if it's hard, if it doesn't work out because you didn't even like you didn't do it for the right reasons. You didn't do it because you wanted to. You did it because you thought it would make you more successful.
Yeah, I mean that's it. Nietzsche has a point with if you have a great why, then you can endure almost any how. If you have that vision for like the purpose of being or doing something, then the choice that you make along the way toward that become, and the challenges that show up in that become much more endurable. You're like, yeah,
right.
that's really hard and all, but I'm on my way to that goal.
Yeah.
I'm doing
Yeah.
the thing that drives me.
I
Well, and
think what
from
was I think for me, like, it was really helpful for me to at least stick to the same genre, but not necessarily the same game. Like, I
mhm.
tend to always stick to
Yeah.
shooters, but that's not just like it's not just Fortnite. It's
There's
like
so many
lots
different
of different
ones.
types of shooters. And
Yeah.
then occasionally I would dip my toes into other things, but I've always made it a point to like I also just I can't play the same game for very long.
Right.
Like I get into certain habits like I played Siege for an entire year. I played Fortnite for like 8 months
Oh,
straight.
I remember Siege.
I remember, I
Remember
remember
the
a lot of
team
scenes.
kills we had together, Renee?
Remember
Those
all
are
the
so
perks?
good.
it
Remember that
was
time I killed you? That was
I
great.
still have all those gifts. Those are good times. But
Yeah.
I'll definitely get like sucked into games in certain degrees, but I think like that's a very natural course when you like something, you tend to just get kind of obsessed with certain things.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
but yeah, I've always just tried to always keep a variety. And I think some people think variety is like you need to play a different type of genre all the time, but you don't really necessarily have to do that. As long as you're in like
Genre's broad.
yeah, you can. I mean, if you want to play like a shooter and then a Metroidvania and then an RPG and then a tabletop, like if you want to do that, then cool. But variety doesn't necessarily mean that. You can just play
I think
some
that
Fallout and Call of
I
Duty.
think the thing for me that has been really important is like figuring out, because I did do like, what has helped me the most was when I switched from mainly gaming to like half gaming, half role play. It was really hard for me because I lost a lot of my like tipping audience. But when I like, what I did was I was like, okay, so if I look at all of these different streams that are doing the same thing as me, that are doing role playing as a thing, like what are audience standards that I can kind of expect? And what I noticed was that role playing communities were a lot more, they didn't like to interrupt the stream as much, which is why I feel like tips were a little bit lower, because they were used to like, I'm watching a show and I don't want an alert to pop up and ruin my immersion. And they were also a lot more used to subscription services like Twitch subs, and also external subscription services. I noticed a lot of role-playing channels had Patreons that would support the channel in doing the role play, and there were less Twitch subs maybe than there were patrons. And so that was a really big factor in my deciding to start a Patreon. Like, and that itself has evolved in a totally different direction. But it was from taking a look at the audience in the genre I wanted to be in and the ways in which they typically behaved, and saying, okay, like I've been having trouble. I'm not getting what I was used to expecting from my audience prior to this. Why might that be? What are some ways that my new audience like is used to behaving, and in what ways can I take that learned behavior and benefit from it myself financially? Because